Hello, good morning all, and welcome to today's class. And today again we'll be going for further current affairs news. So today again I have taken the topics and have elaborated more on this PPT, so that when you go for this and when you go through this PPT, you can also understand much better way. So starting with this, starting with the highest topic for the week. Emmerson Mnangagwa, the crocodile sworn in as Zimbabwe president. So basically, Mnangagwa have been sworn in as Zimbabwe president, and how he is important. Basically, there were two persons before this. Okay, before this, Mnangagwa, Robert Mugabe, have been ruling the country for more than 37 years. Actually, Zimbabwe is one of the country which have seen only two leaders. One is Mugabe and one is Mnangagwa. This Mnangagwa was actually, Mugabe was the president and he was the vice president. But last year in the Cold War, Mugabe have to step down, because of which this vice president have been temporarily sworn in as president, but in recent election he finally won it with nearly 53 to 54% of votes. To understand more, since it is about Zimbabwe, we need to understand where Zimbabwe lies. Okay, so Zimbabwe lies in the southern part of South Africa. If you see here, Africa is the only nation where all the three line passes. This is equator, this is Tropic of Cancer, this is Tropic of Capricorn, right? Tropic of Cancer is 23.5 degree north, whereas Tropic of Capricorn is 23.5 degree south. So since we are discussing on Zimbabwe, so we need to understand about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's capital is Harare, right? What? Harare. And here the currency used is Zimbabwean dollar. Similarly, Zimbabwe is neighbors to Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, and Mozambique. So we need to equally understand what the capital, because question may come from there. So the capital of Zambia is Lusaka. Okay, and here the currency for Zambia is Zambian kwacha. Similarly, coming to Botswana, the capital of Botswana is Gaborone, and here the currency is Botswana Pula. Okay, Botswana Pula. Similarly, South Africa have two capitals, right? One is Cape Town, and the other is Pretoria. Pretoria, right? And the currency is South African Rand. Similarly, coming to Mozambique, the capital of Mozambique is Maputo. Okay, M-A-P-U-T-O, Maputo, and the currency is Mozambian Metical. Okay, so since we are discussing on Zimbabwe, I'll be talking more on this selection, but before that we need to understand the geography of this particular country where it is situated, right? So Zimbabwe is situated in the southern part of South Africa, African nation, okay, African continent, and here the capital of Zimbabwe is Harare, currency dollar, Zimbabwean dollar, right? And the neighbors are Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, and Mozambique. And further, I have classified the capitals too. The capital of Zambia is Lusaka, Botswana is Gaborone, South Africa have two capitals. One is Cape Town and Pretoria, whereas Mozambique have a capital called Maputo, right? So now let us go that why Zimbabwe is in highlight. I mean, countries do have elections, and this people get elevated to the elite positions of president and prime ministership. Why this Zimbabwe have been in so highlight? Okay, this is because last year there was a cold war between two leaders. Okay, one was between Robert Mugabe and one was Mnangagwa. Okay, who have been recently crowned as a president. Last year in November 15, okay, last year November 15, there was a cold war, and the motive is to claim target criminals surrounding long-time popular leader Mugabe. Okay, so Robert Mugabe, because this particular leader have been for a long time been a leader of Zimbabwe. For how many years? For 37 years since its independence. Earlier, Zimbabwe was under British rule, like India. Okay, only in 1980 it got independent from British rule, right? So at 93, so Mugabe was a president until he was 93. So at 93, that was in November 15. Okay, in 93, Mr. Mugabe is the world's oldest head of a state and also the last of Africa generation of state founders who still wield power. Means since 1980, Mugabe have been in power, right? Robert Mugabe have been in power. His lengthy rule has been marked by brutal repression of dissent. Okay, it is observed that somewhere there the democracy is dying in the country. There is no such democracy. Mass immigration, vote rigging, malfunctioning, and economic collapse as well. Despite this, he is popularly among the masses and is relatively high and has seen him in weird near total control. Right? His poor health has fueled a bitter succession battle as potential replacement jockey for position. As he is 93, so definitely his health has played a consequential role in getting back to power. What triggered basically the current stand-up is Mr. Mugabe sacked long-time ally. What happened is this Emmerson Mnangagwa, who have been recently crowned president, he was actually vice president of Robert Mugabe, who was in throne for nearly 37 years. Notably, he widely expected to succeed. So since he was sacked. So since then, Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa wanted Robert Mugabe to be out of power. So what he did is he played a cold cop and out made him out of the office. He made compulsion for Mugabe to put resignation and go out of the office. Because of that, what happened is Mnangagwa was sworn in president for temporary basis until the elections were held, and recently after the elections, Mnangagwa have won with more than 50% votes. So he was widely, even before the election, Mnangagwa was widely expected to succeed Mugabe and take control of the ruling ZANU-PF, okay, party. The party from which Mnangagwa belongs is ZANU-PF party. Okay, this move was seen as an attempt to install his Mugabe wife Grace for succeeding to help. So what happened is, this is particular move where Mugabe's wife Grace, so she was rather elevated by Mugabe. So that's why Mnangagwa have elevated himself and have played a Cold War. So Mnangagwa fled the country after his dismissal, and many long-term regime loyalists are said to have sided with him. Days later, the army warned Mugabe. So what happened is, so the army played a crucial role over here when somewhere the country is obviously not democratic where army is taking actions, right? So army warned Mugabe to exhibit restraint is a serious political purges which wasn't headed to. So finally, he had no choice but to go out. What was Zimbabwe's economy? See, when before this we have come across that Zimbabwean people have, there was mass exodus. So the reason, one of the reason is because of economy. So Mr. Mugabe's populist land reform of 2000 saw black Africans seizing large tract of agricultural land from European settlers. This was one of the point. Then this move led to a production collapse of agriculture and eventually plunged the country into economic crisis. What he did is, he bought a land reforms of 2000 saw black Africans, okay, seizing large tract of agriculture. He seized large tract of agricultural land, and because of seizing of that, no farming happened, and finally what happened, the country came into economic crisis. Millions of economic refugees have streamed out of the country, mostly to neighboring South Africa. Eventually, in 2007 and 8, the country saw hyperinflation. Okay, it was in 7 and 8 the country saw hyperinflation that forced the amendment of the local currency and a switch to dollars. So because of this inflation, what happened is they abandoned the local currency and switched to dollars because the value of dollars were more over the local currency. In 2016, fears of economic downtime reappeared with inflation rating at around 50% for a month. Okay. Notably, the sacked Vice President Mnangagwa is said to have been planning to revitalize the economy through radical measures. So before he came into running the presidential elections, he was notably planning to revitalize the economy through radical measures. He is even said to have vouched for rectifying the mistakes of the radical land reforms and patching up relations with World Bank and IMF, right? So World Bank, IMF is International Monetary Fund. Next, what is the military coup? How exactly Robert Mugabe was forced to step out of the office? Through the action is an effect of a bloodless coup. The military chose to call it a bloodless political corrections, right? Why? Because Mugabe's popularity with the masses, it is also not clear whether the military action would end his resign. And therefore, it was important for the military that to put external pressure rather than putting military pressure on him. So the main goal of the generals appeared to be preventing Mugabe's 52-year-old wife, Grace, from succeeding him. Basically, what Mugabe wanted that after he is dead or when he stepped down from his seat, his 52-year-old wife, Grace, to succeed him, superseding Vice President Mnangagwa, right? So this somewhere led agitation by the Vice President as well as military came into picture. But irrespective of the outcome, it is unlikely to mark the end of the total dominance of the country by Mugabe. Notably, even the main opposition MDC party, the main opposition party is MDC party, calling for civilian rule to be protected. They wanted to bring into democracy, okay? They wanted to bring more democracy. But however, Mnangagwa, after getting sworn in, have justified and have told his countrymen in a speech that he will be looking forward for a more democratic and more economy based country. So let's hope for the best. Now, last, we need to understand what is the relation of India when it comes to Zimbabwe. First, it exports to Zimbabwe. The exports to Zimbabwe stood at $222.19 million, while imports are 120,000, right? Only 120,000. So the main things are Indian pharmaceuticals, that is medicines, have a strong presence in Zimbabwean market. Supply pumps, irrigation equipment to Zimbabwe. Indian public sector firms such as Indian Railway Construction Company, IRCON, Rail India Technical and Economic Services, RITES, Water and Power Consultancy Services, and Telecommunication India Limited are active in Zimbabwe. Okay, so these are some of the facts which need to be understood, because questions can come can be anything out of this, right? So it's not necessary that you need to stay with the topic, but we need to understand more into the topic, because any side things, any sideways, or any additional information which is directly or indirectly linked to the topic can be expected. So it is always wise enough to prepare it accordingly. Now, coming to the first news, that was the very highlighted news for the week. Now coming back to track, the next news is Center pushes for quota in promotion for SC and ST. So before we understand this, we need to understand the context of this particular topic. Basically, citing historical deprivation, the center called the Supreme Court to revisit the Nagaraj ruling. It is very important to understand these points. Okay, question will be asked that which committee have been called. In that case, it is 2016 Nagaraj ruling. Now, the government began its push for providing accelerated promotion with consequential seniority for SC and ST members in public employment. It was said that Dalits are presumed backward and are facing deprivation of sorts till death, and that the states need to take affirmative action by providing them equality of opportunity. So, to provide equal opportunity, it had been decided. What 2006 Nagaraj judgment pronounced by a 5-judgment constitutional benches following a 2006 judgment of the Supreme Court, the government cannot introduce a quota in promotion for its SC/ST employees unless they prove that the particular Dalit community is backward. So they cannot provide until and unless this particular Dalit community is backward, inadequately represented, and such a reservation in promotion would not affect the overall efficiency of public administration. The opinion of the government should also be based on quantifiable data. It was made clear that even if the state has compelling reasons, the state will have to see its reservation provision does not lead to excessiveness so as to breach the ceiling limit of 50% or abbreviate the creamy layer or extent. So no matter what, the Supreme Court told that whatever the reservations are given, at no cost it should exceed 50% of the all quota. Basically, out of 100 people, it should not cross 50 in reservation. Okay, so that is one of the agendas. So the only reason of putting all those points together, so that when the PPT will be shared with you, so you don't have to again arrange things, and you don't have to make notes. I have made everything over here itself. Now, what is the issue? Issue is the government wants another 5-judge constitution bench. Already one constitution bench have been set up in 2006, that is Nagaraj, right? Nagaraj judgment. Now again government want a 5-judge constitution bench to refer the 2006 verdict. Government want to hear this and to analyze this 2006 verdict again to a larger bench for a re-examination, citing the reason that 2006 verdict had effectively created an impossible situation for providing accelerated promotions with consequential seniority for SC/ST communities in government services. Government said it wanted a total of 22.5%. Okay, government said it wanted a total of 22.5%, that is 15% of SC, 7.5 of SC posts reserved for promotion for SC/ST in public employment, stating only this quantum would satisfy the need for adequate representation. The government objected to a creamy layer concept among the SC/ST. Government have objected to a creamy layer concept among the SC/ST. Chief Justice Mishra's three criteria in the Nagaraj Committee, Nagaraj judgment: backwardness, okay, what it is, backwardness, inadequacy, and administrative efficiency were compelling reasons so that reservations by government was not excessive. The three qualifiers were meant to prevent reservation from making an inroad into the right of equal opportunity in public employment and prevent reverse discrimination, right? If you see here, as already discussed, a reservation in promotion was allowed since 1955 till the Supreme Court held unconstitutional in 1992. In 1995, law was amended to allow it back. The new law was challenged in Supreme Court and in 2006 again. So first was 1992, then 95, 1955 to 1992, then 1995, right? Then again 2006, the new law was challenged in Supreme Court, and in 2006, the court said that before framing any law, the state will have to satisfy the test of backwardness, inadequate representation, overall efficiency. Then, relying on 2006 Supreme Court judgment, several high courts struck down reservations in proposal. Relying the 2000, several high courts have struck down reservations in promotions, right? Then UPA government introduced a bill that said all SC and ST shall be deemed backward. The bill awaits passing by the parliament. So on Tuesday, finally, the apex court allowed promotion temporarily till it decided on the legality of the law, right? So that was all about the topic for SC/ST Promotion Act. Next topic is WHO thumbs up for Swachh Bharat rural component. WHO is World Health Organization. It have thumbs up. It have really appreciated Swachh Bharat rural component for the following reasons, one of which have been noted here. So if you see here, it said India's rural sanitation coverage have escalated to 89%. Okay, till August 2. We have reached to 89% till August 2. Under this Swachh Bharat mission, G stands for Gramin, 19 states, okay, and union territories were declared open defecation free, and 7.9 crore toilets were built in 421 districts and 4.9 lakh villages were declared ODF. ODF is open defecation free. So till now, till August 2, 7.9 crore toilets were built in 421 districts, out of which 4.9 lakh villages were declared ODF, that is open defecation free. The WHO study shows that before the initiation of Swachh Bharat mission, unsafe sanitation caused 199 million cases of diarrhea. Before this Swachh Bharat mission, because of improper, because of open defecation, and because of no toilet, the unsafe sanitation have caused nearly 199 million cases of diarrhea, registered diarrhea annually, and that by 2019 the initiative aims to 100, and by 2019 the government aims to achieve 100% sanitation coverage, right? Next news is Matala project with India. Matala is in Sri Lanka, and Matala project is basically it's an airport. Okay, so India and Sri Lanka government, after detailed negotiation, have agreed that India with a 70% stake in the joint venture will contribute $225 million to revamp and run the airport, while the Sri Lankan side will invest the balance. What India is in negotiation where India is trying to take 70% stake in the joint venture to contribute $225 million, okay, to revamp run the airport, with Sri Lanka side will invest the balance. So 30% will be funded by the Sri Lankan government, whereas 70% by Indian government. India will operate the airport for 40-year lease. Okay, India is going to operate the airport for 40-year lease as per draft agreement. So this is Matala Airport. You can see here. This is Sri Lanka, and this is Palatai, Thalamai Manar, Trikonmale, Omanthai, and Kankethurai railway port. Right. So Matala Airport is here at the extreme southern part of Sri Lanka. Okay, so you can see here the blue marks shows Indian built and the red marks shows Chinese built. So you can see these are Chinese built, this is also Chinese built, this is Chinese built, this is Chinese, and the blue one is Indian, like Talai Manar, Palai Airways, Jaffna. This basically these three are Indian built bases. Now, going a little bit to the background, India has agreed to form a joint venture with Sri Lanka to operate the country's loss-making Matala Rajapaksa International Airport in Hambantota. So, Sri Lanka is going through a rough time where it is making loss in the Matala Rajapaksa International Airport. So the government, the Indian government is trying to move Sri Lanka, is trying to get the deal to have 70% stake for 40 years in lease. This $210 million facility, okay, 241 kilometers southeast of Colombo, is dubbed the world's emptiest airport. Hambantota Airport, that is Matala Rajapaksa International Airport, is also called as emptiest airport due to lack of flights. The joint venture would see India gain a major stake of the airport. What is the importance, what is strategy behind India when a loss-making airport, what is the importance of India to take in the loss-making airport is basically the Chinese takeover of Hambantota port increased India's worries that it will become an Indian Ocean hub for the Chinese Navy. Though Hambantota has never been feasible as a full-flown Chinese naval base, okay, its proximity to India would make it highly vulnerable. Though Chinese Navy is not present as of now in Hambantota, they have created this Hambantota. They have created basically this Matala. They have basically designed and put with Matata International Airport. But and there is always a vulnerability with India because Chinese it will be always near to them to operate their navy through the Indian Ocean, stating they have a port in Sri Lanka which is allowed by Sri Lanka itself. So there's a strategy behind this. Though Hambantota has never been feasible as a full-flown Chinese naval base, its proximity to India would make it highly vulnerable to air attack in the event of conflict between the two countries. If there is any conflict, it will be troublesome for the country, right? Since Hambantota port will be very near to India. A key element in any overseas naval base and even a logistic facility is AZSX by air for people and supplies. A naval base also requires maritime air surveillance capabilities. Control over Hambantota Airport will give India considerable control over how the port is used. Therefore, India's strategic interest runs in the airport located near the China-controlled port in Hambantota. This move by India could also be seen as a counter to China's growing presence in the South Asian region, right? So that was all about Matala Airport, Sri Lanka. Now coming to another news, social media hub plan dropped. The news basically was the government's proposal for social media communication hub plan dropped. So we need to know about this. Some facts. Basically, the proposal was supposed to perform the following function. First, to monitor social media traffic, create a social media hub to create a technology architecture that merge mass surveillance with a capacity for discrimination, right? Then it's supposed to create a platform to collect digital media chatter from all core social media platforms as well as digital platforms. The withdrawal is the outcome of the apex court's fear that it may create surveillance state. According to the Supreme Court, it may pose a danger in country where privacy is a fundamental right. Right? So here, when it comes to social media hub, personal stuffs are stored. Whenever personal stuffs are stored, fundamental rights comes into picture. Fundamental right comes from Article 14 of the Constitution. Right? Next, challenges in Brexit negotiation. Brexit is BR stands for Berlin, exit stands for going out. So Berlin have decided 2 years back to get out from European market and to play a separate entity, okay, rather than playing it together. So what is the issue basically? British Prime Minister Theresa May has successfully got her Brexit plans approved by the Parliament, okay, after much of the effort. After she was sworn in as a Prime Minister in a coalition government by support, she finally got approved by the Parliament for the Brexit plans. Okay, so what is Brexit basically? Brexit is like sometime back, this European there was a leader, okay, who wanted that British should come out of this Brexit, right? So what happened is, so he played a cop, and they have campaigned that British should come out of Brexit because Brexit is the impending, because we can say in simple, Brexit is the impending withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union. In simple, basically in a referendum on June 23rd, June 2016, that is in 2016, June 2016, 51.9% of the people who participated in the UK electorate voted to leave the European Union. Okay, how much? 51.9%. Okay, the turnaround was 72%. Out of the 72% of population, 51% of population have stated to come out of the European Union, where the UK government invoked Article 15 of the Treaty on European Union. Okay, and finally the European Union Withdrawal Act 2018 declares exit day to be 29 March 2019 at 11 p.m. So 29th of March 2019, that is our next year, at 11 p.m. it is expected that European Union will declare exit day. Okay, so currently she is lobbying hard with other European leaders to push through her proposals despite several challenges. Like negotiations with EU officially started in June 2017. aiming to complete the withdrawal agreement by October 2018, right? So in June 2018, the UK and EU, that is United Kingdom and the European Union, published a joint progress report outlining agreement on issue including customs, VAT and Euratom. The UK joined the European communities in basically, when you go to little back, the UK joined basically the European communities in 1973. In 1973, UK joined this European Union, okay, with a membership with 73, with a membership into the referendum in 1975 through a referendum. In 1970 and 1980s, withdrawal from the EC was advocated by basically the Labour Party members and trade union speakers. But from 1990, the main advocates of withdrawal were newly founded UK Independence Party. Finally, a party was founded in British itself, in UK itself, whose main agenda was to revoke back this European Union, revoke back the union between the connection between the two parties. From 1990s, the main advocates of withdrawal were nearly founded by UK Independence Party. Okay, here 6 weeks after the referendum came, the Bank of England introduced quantitative easing and lower interest rates, thus allowing both depreciation of sterling and a rise in inflation that outpaced wage growth for most of 2017. The drop in the value of sterling has been claimed to have been caused in part by hedge fund managers betting on Brexit against polls predicting that Remain camp was narrowly won. So what is the border problem in Ireland then? How Ireland came into picture? Basically, Republic of Ireland is an independent country. Here I will show here. So this is, you can see here, this is United Kingdom, this is Ireland, right? Ireland, Republic of Ireland is an independent country, right? That is an EU member. Ireland is a EU member, while Northern Ireland is an autonomous territory within the UK. So what I'm talking about is this. So this is the northern part, which is independent, and this is still under the rule. So due to sheer volume of trade and complicated cultural ties between the two islands, disrupting the open borders. As of now, until UK is with European unions, they have open borders. But once this referendum have sorted out, once this will come into halt and they will be divided, so what will happen? The borders will be closed. So the open borders is socially and economically risky as per Ireland, as Brexit is being pushed forward for a stronger border controls between UK and EU. The Irish border question has become a very complicated. UK, European Union and Republic of Ireland are principally against hard borders between Republic of Ireland and North Ireland. They are against the border for these two island areas. In fact, the soft borders between the two territories is vital for sustenance of 1998 Good Friday Agreement. So here 1998 Good Friday Agreement, because on this year agreement was done between the two, which ends decades of bloodshed. But a soft or open border between the two islands would mean some border control has to be placed between Northern Ireland and rest of the UK. But the Northern Ireland leaders have asserted that they are not ready to accept any solution that would treat them separately from the rest of UK, right? So you can see here, this is UK, right? The capital is London. Here this is Ireland, right? This is North Ireland, Belfast, and this is Ireland, Dublin. How basically the talks proceeding in the context? Basically, European Union had proposed for Northern Ireland. Okay, so European Union had proposed for Northern Ireland to remain in common regulatory area with similar status of Republic of Ireland in European Union. But this was rejected outright by the UK, which came up with a counter-proposal for a temporary customs arrangement to avoid hard borders. Under this clause, called Iris backstop. What called Iris backstop? The entire UK would remain within the European Union customs union for a while, even after existing EU's single market. While the European Union seemed unenthusiastic initially, its chief negotiator Mr. Michael Barnier recently suggested a positive note in regard. What are other important constraints? Here is UK seeks to retain its proposed temporary arrangement with the UK until permanent solution is found to the Irish question. But such an agreement would make it impossible for Britain to establish free trade agreements with other countries till its expiry. Further, European Union has also largely been grumpy due to UK's intention of wanting to retain free trade in goods alone while seeking to curb free flow of services, people and capital. Notably, the UK proposal for the European Union and UK to collect tariff on each other's behalf wherever needed has not got a positive response from EU. This multiple constraints might prove really difficult to address. Okay, so those were the few understanding in Brexit. Now coming to the next news, dispute settlement in WTO. Now what is a dispute? What is the issue? WTO, that is World Trade Organization, is now amidst a crisis for ensuring a legitimate dispute settlement mechanism. Why? Because the changes in the global trade regime, and the multilateral institutions necessitate for a greater role for developing world are in crisis because of a new age fight. Okay, now why the trade organization? Basically the new financial trade order with the coming up of Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank and IMF, demanded a trade organization at the international level. Apart from this, it became necessary for regulation of the international monetary system. It was also needed to establish multilateral rules for settlement of trade disputes. Adherence to the rules was expected to serve as an important domestic incentive for governments. It would allow them to resist protectionist demands and provide for greater legal certainty. World Trade Organization was created primarily to address these particular demands. How has the US role been then? The US pushed to creation of WTO because this WTO was established by the US push was mainly to pursue its own commercial interest. Whereas the US has never truly embraced the idea of a multilateral system, it have always tried to be a single player. Only for the namesake, the idea of multilateral system in which its leadership could be contested. Evidently, the US is isolating itself. Though US have pushed for a creation of WTO, it is pushing, isolating itself from NAFTA, TPP, NATO, and UNESCO in the recent times. Right? Recently, Trump have been isolating from this all organization, and this is an important term. Okay, on from which of the things US is planning to opt out. Okay, so these are the organization. In the trade negotiations too, the US put forward excessive demands. US have put forward excessive demands that countries are unprepared to meet. So the current crisis with the WTO dispute settlement system largely follows this unequal power. What is a crisis? The nature of the trade disputes is now increasingly getting hyper-technical. Let us understand what exactly. Despite this, the WTO currently faces a trade dispute settlement crisis. The US have systematically blocked the appointment of new appellate body members. This has impeded the work of WTA, and because of this, no rulings or no disputes can be heard properly, and this has impeded the work of the WTO appeal mechanism. It is under great stress with only 4 working members out of 7 normally serving office. If no appointment is made, the mechanism would be destroyed by 2019, and it would be left with only 1 remaining member to tackle a massive number of disputes. But this appellate body requires a core of minimum 3 members. Okay, so now you must be clear what exactly the figure is. Basically, what here the appointment of new appellate body members are blocked. So this is the main crisis, and this members should be 3 to decide a dispute. But because of not selecting yet the judges, it is quite tough to settle day-to-day trade disputes. There are some other concerns as well, like it is to be noted that WTO dispute settlement is not a World Trade Court. It is not a World Trade Court. Okay, it is just an organization. So logically, the process remains political and diplomatic. WTO members are thus concerned over the politicization of the appellate body. There is also a concern with the quasi-contribution of permanent appellate body seats to the US and European Union. Besides, there is a concern over the possibility of China finding its way to have a permanent seat. Okay, some appellate body members continue to hear cases which have been assigned to them during their tenure. US has persistently attacked this practice. However, the blame lies on the US itself for delay in filling up vacancies and reappointing of members. This is indicative of the fact that US deliberately pushing the WTO legal mechanism for deterioration. It is no doubt that US trying their best, basically not to appoint and leave the vacancies open and reappoint the members. There is also a Chinese perspective in this. How? Let us understand this. Despite limitation ensured by US and EU, China have largely benefited from the rules-based WTO system. It might well be the new WTO leader in the coming future. No doubt the way China is improving in its economy. China's growing assertiveness is fact may be the reason for the US hard measures, right? Its emerging power and the impact of the commercial domination of other economics are evident. But how far will China's legitimacy be among other trading members remain largely uncertain. What is the way forward? The world has changed and multilateral institutions now have to embed these changes. The current WTO crisis could be a battle to retain control over a Western-centric organization. It is high time for emerging economies and the developing world to have a greater say. They should establish their role in shaping the much needed multilateralism and its institutions. Right? Let us go by some facts. The WTO, was established in 1995 with the seat in Geneva. The headquarters are in Geneva, Switzerland. It is standing body of 7 persons. It hears appellate from reports issued by panels in disputes brought by WTO members. Or any WTO member dispute is heard over here. The appellate body can uphold, modify, or reverse the legal findings and conclusions of a panel. The appellate body reports, once adopted by the dispute settlement body, must be accepted by the parties to the dispute. So those are the few facts on WTO as well. Let us move to the next news. Next news is IMPRINT India. What is this IMPRINT? IMPRINT full form stands for impacting research, innovation and technology. Impacting research, innovation and technology. It is basically the first of its kind Pan IIT and IIC joint venture initiative supported by Ministry of HRD. It aims basically to develop a roadmap for research to solve major engineering and technological challenges in technology domains relevant to India. The focus would be in direct research in the premier institutions into areas of social relevance. There are 142 research projects in implementation stage. Under IMPRINT 1, there are, as of now, how many? 142 research projects. The government have recently approved 122 new research projects under IMPRINT 2. The proposals for new research projects is open for higher education institutions, including private institutions. The various areas covered under these research projects are energy, security, healthcare, advanced material, ICT, and security defense domains. Okay. Next, Inter-American Court of Human Rights. The IACHR is an independent multinational court that handles the human rights cases of people affected by the laws of countries that are members of Organizations of American States. It has recently given its advisory opinion on the issue of institution of asylum and its recognition as a human right. It has ruled that all nations have an obligation to ensure safe passage for asylum seekers to their final territory of asylum. This assumes significance in the light of asylum of Julian Assange, who has been editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks in Ecuadorian embassy in UK. He has been granted political asylum and citizenship by Ecuador in 2012, but he is unable to come out of the embassy in UK because of the arrest warrant issued by UK court in the charges of sexual assault and rape allegations. In this scenario, the advisory opinion by IACHR gives him the moral victory. The ruling would mean that UK has an obligation to allow safe passage for Mr. Assange to Ecuador, where he has been granted political asylum as well as citizenship. Okay, so the Organization of American States, you can see here, the dark green are members, whereas light green are light. So OS is the world's oldest regional organization, which came into being since 1948, and it brings together all 35 independent states of the Americans. It constitutes the main political, judicial, and social governmental forum. Next, World Breastfeeding Week. August 1 to 7 was also celebrated as World Breastfeeding Week. Basically, every year it is celebrated to encourage breastfeeding and improve the health of babies around the world. It commemorates the Innocenti Declaration. So this is the question which can be expected here. It commemorates the Innocenti Declaration signed in 1990 by government policymakers, that those are WHO, World Health Organization, UNICEF, and other elite organizations. This year, WHO is working with UNICEF and partners to promote the importance of helping mothers breastfeed their babies within that crucial first hour of life. As per UNICEF, Ireland, France, and USA ranked lowest among all countries in the breastfeeding rates. Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Madagascar, and Peru have the highest breastfeeding rates. Clear? Next, relaxation in cabotage law. Cabotage in shipping basically refers to the transport of goods or passengers between two ports within the same country by a foreign shipping operator. The Shipping Ministry has recently lifted the restriction on foreign registered vessels on transportations of loaded or empty containers between Indian ports. Earlier, it was the prerogative of Indian registered shipping lines that paid taxes and were governed by Indian laws. It is expected that this move will lead to cargo growth in India. It will also improve the competitiveness of the Indian traders by reducing transshipment cost at a foreign port. For instance, like Colombo port thrives on Indian cargo containers. Colombo port thrives on Indian cargo container that passes through it, and it is one of the major container transshipment hubs in the region. After the relaxation of rules, so what happens is Colombo has cut the transshipment rates by 9.5%, allowing foreign ships to operate on local routes. So this opens opportunity for other countries to getting new routes and short routes for trading purposes. The next news. Opposition to Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill. Okay, so recently this bill have been amended. So what is the need? Why it was amended? Basically, the Motor Vehicles Act 1988. Okay, so Motor Vehicle Act came into existence in 1988, governing motor vehicles and transport is largely outdated. So the governing body, the Motor Vehicle Act 1998, is largely believed to be outdated. It lacks the provision that are necessary to manage the present fast motorization, especially the passenger transport sector operating for intercity services has grown with vested interest. This is a result of exploitation of lack of transparency and regulatory bottlenecks. So with a transparent system, professional new entrants can come into the sector. Also, state-run services have not kept pace with the time. Example, investment in the urban metro rail systems are yielding poor results in the absence of last-mile connectivity services, and such lacuna have to be addressed to improve road safety, ensure orderly use of the vehicles, and expand public transport. But the bill faces opposition from the states. What are the concern is basically some state governments are concerned about the new provisions, section 60A and 88A. This will empower the center to form a national transportation policies. Notably, it would be through a process of consultation and not concurrence. It will also enable centrally drafted schemes for national multimodal and interstate movement of goods and passengers for rural mobility and even last mile connectivity. The provisions would bring in a new paradigm that would overhaul the sector, and hence the state see it anti-federal. Okay, so clear the issue is not one of the legislative competence as a subject in its concurrent list. So clearly, Parliament can make a law defining powers available to the states, and the opposition is thus more due to the perceived shift of power from the states to the center. Okay, so how we can be forward? We can be forward like well-run bus services have to be enabled to operate across states with suitable permit charges. So this, apart from this, a growing needs of transforming economy will come into picture. Regulatory changes could contribute to fostering competition, reducing fares, and increasing services. Other provisions on road safety, fines, and curbing corruption need proper enforcement. A professional accident investigation agency have to be put in place to determine the best practices. In all, an equitable regulatory framework has to be created for the orderly growth of transport services, and states should thus reconsider their opposition to amendment to the Motor Vehicles Act, and the passage of the bill would also help meet the UN mandate to reduce. So this will also help the UN mandate to reduce road accidents by up to 50% in 2020. Okay. The next news which was in picture was the Bandipur National Park. Okay. So let us understand what is this Bandipur National Park. So if you can see here, so this is the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. Okay, which have where any buses going to Kerala, Tamil Nadu have to cross this park through Karnataka, and it have been a problem because Bandipur National Park is a home to many such animals who get disturbed because of this road in between the Bandipur National Park. Bandipur National Park was actually formed from the forest areas of the Venugopal Wildlife Park. Okay, so earlier you must be knowing this, that earlier Bandipur National Park was called as Venugopala Wildlife Park in 1941. Subsequently, some adjacent reserve forest areas were added to this Bandipur Reserve, and this reserve was bought under Project Tiger in 1973. Okay, so the Bandipur, Nagarhole, Venad, Madumalai, and Satyamangalam tire landscape is spread across the Strait of Karnataka, that is Bandipur, Nagarhole, Tamil Nadu, Madumalai, and Satyamangalam, and Kerala, Venad. It is a fine example of managing interstate tiger reserves for the long-term conservation of tiger resource population. But presently, there is a ban on vehicle movement during night in these reserve forest areas, where even Kerala have asked not to allow its state transportation at minimum. And because of this Union Road Transport Minister have recently asked the state government to lift the ban where this vehicle movement during the nights have been asked to be closed. The ministry has also mooted a flyover in the reserve area to avoid the consumption of fuel because of the ban in vehicle movement on NH 766 during night. However, the state government has asserted that the ban will continue, citing the highest density of elements in the reserve area, because this area have a highest density of elephants, and because of presence of too much vehicles may disturb the movement of elephants, and it may create chaos between the elephants, and indeed that may harm the vehicles and the owners who are sitting inside the vehicles, right? Now coming to the next topic, draft national e-commerce policy. What is the recent development in this e-commerce? E-commerce sector is currently estimated to be worth $25 billion, and which is providing immense amount of employment in the country, and where people are day by day transiting to online. It is expected to grow $200 million over the next 10 years. Cheaper smartphones and data tariffs and enhanced connectivity contribute to the growth prospects. The bigger e-commerce firms have largely covered the metros and large cities. As a next phase, they could move to Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns. Expansion of 3G and 4G networks to these towns have put more consumers online. What is the need for a policy? The e-commerce growth has led to job creation, productivity improvement, and increased online presence in consumers. To benefit from these opportunities, it is essential to be responsive to the underlying challenges. Okay, so basically, there is thus the need for clarity laid down rules. There is no such rules in e-commerce. So government is proposing to come across with few rules for electronic commerce in the country. Many of these rules currently exist in some or other forms, but they are enforced by multiplicity of government departments and regulators. Hence, a national e-commerce policy would consolidate the various norms and regulations to cover all online retailers. Though there are few current limitations, like coming to the restrictions, India does not allow FDI in e-commerce companies. Okay, so India does not allow FDI in e-commerce companies that hold their own inventories or stocks. The one which hold their own inventory and stocks are not allowed. So if they enter India, they have to sell Indian products as well. They have to use Indian inventories. On the other hand, the government allows 100% FDI in the marketplace model, whereas in it comes to marketplace model, it allows 100% FDI. Here, marketplace operators cannot hold inventory and sell product to their platform already discussed. They can only facilitate the online sale process for other vendors, example Amazon and foreign funded companies in India, including Flipkart, Shopcluse and Snapdeals. Okay, so this only provide platform to other retailers and vendors by allowing the list of products in the site. However, a huge share of investment in e-commerce firms are coming from abroad, so the e-tailers are setting up seller entities that sold foreign firms' product on the platform. Eventually, in 2016, the government mandated that no platform should have more than 25% of its sale coming from a single seller. Also, they are all not allowed to directly or indirectly influence prices of products sold to their platforms. With this restriction, e-commerce companies have been able to offer their in-house brands exclusively. Coming to consumer protection, these have been incidents of consumer expressing dissatisfaction with the products purchased online. In some cases, bricks and soaps have been delivered instead of mobile phones. This is an inherent flaw on marketplace model. Because of market platforms do not have full control over the supply chain and only functions as a facilitator. There are also complaints of prices being higher than maximum retail price. National Consumer Helpline of Consumer Affairs Ministry currently is the only redressal mechanism. So this is the only redressal mechanism, right? Helpline, Consumers Affairs Ministry. There are few recommendations given. First, coming to the inventory model, FDI may be allowed in inventory-based e-commerce companies up to 49%. So FDI in any e-commerce companies inventory-based can be allowed up to 49%. This comes with a condition that e-tailer sells 100% made in India. So this e-tailer should sell 100% made in India products. This will allow e-commerce firms to offer their own brands as long as they are made in India. So as long as they are made in India, it will offer them to allow. It is also suggested that foreign e-commerce website be bought on a legal playing field with their Indian counterparts. Marketplace models, like for online marketplaces, restrictions should be imposed on group companies of such platforms. The marketplaces will not be able to offer deep discounts through their in-house companies listed as sellers. This is to prevent them from directly or indirectly influencing the prices of goods and services. Bulk purchases of branded goods by related party, like which led to price distortion in marketplace, will be prohibited. Consumer protection, to provide a forum for consumer to task force suggested a central consumer protection authority. This, besides helping consumers, will act as a nodal agency for inter-government coordination. It will thus provide a platform for e-commerce operators regarding complaints of fraudulent activities. Okay, so coming to the redressal, the draft suggests a separate wing. It suggests a separate wing to set up in the ED, that is Enforcement Directorate. This will handle grievances related to guidelines for foreign investment in e-commerce. When it comes to payment, currently a large number of payment for online purchases made through cash on delivery option. To make online payment safer, the task force has suggested creating a fraud intelligence mechanism. Fraud intelligence mechanism. This would use artificial intelligence. AI technology will be used based authentication systems for early detection of frauds. Coming to regulation, greater regulatory scrutiny has been recommended for mergers and acquisitions that may distort competition. A relook has been suggested on what constitutes entry barriers and anti-competitive practices. The Competition Commission of India (CCI), okay, has been asked to undertake such exercises. This assumes significance in the light of recent acquisition of Flipkart by US retail major Walmart. So Flipkart was recently acquired by Walmart. So based on this, the significance of the recent acquisition was taken. The policy also suggests a sunset clause for deep discounting, wherein a maximum duration would be set up for differential pricing strategies, right? So, if implemented, it could impact consumers' online shopping experience in multiple ways, which will include how discounts are given, the availability of new products, and the redressal of complaints. Even the platform would have to mandatorily provide the government's RuPay payment option. This e-commerce platform have to mandatorily provide the government's RuPay payment option. Suggestion for creation of a single national regulator to oversee the entire industry requires action for multiple ministries and regulatories. Also, there is a need for amendments to existing legislation and rule books. Okay. Now, coming to the next topic, Union government has cleared the elevation of Justice K.M. Joseph to the Supreme Court. How? Before that, we need to understand how Supreme Court judge appointed. It is Article 124. Okay, so this is very important term. Please make a note of this. Article 124. Article 124 of the Constitution allows the Chief Justice of India, judges of Supreme Court, to be appointed by the President. So it is the President who appoints Chief Justice of India and the judges of Supreme Court based on the recommendation by the Collegium of Supreme Court. Okay, whenever a vacancy is expected to arise in the office of a judge of a Supreme Court, the CGI will initiate proposal. Okay, so whenever there is a vacancy in any of the court, okay, so the Chief Justice of India will initiate the proposal. The recommendation will be forwarded to the Union Ministry of Law. So the proposal given by the Chief Justice will forward it to Union Ministry of Law, Justice and Company Affairs to fill up the vacancy. The opinion of the CGI, okay, the opinion of CGI for appointing a judge for the Supreme Court should be formed in consultation with the Collegium of the 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. The CGI alone cannot take a decision on this. The CGI have to sit with 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. What happened in the case of K.M. Joseph? K.M. Joseph is the person who have been recently elevated to the Chief Justice, right? So K.M. Joseph was actually the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court. The 5-member collegium earlier recommended K.M. Joseph for elevation apart from Indu Malhotra. But K.M. Joseph was not accepted. As per the opposition, the government didn't accept K.M. Joseph, stating that because K.M. Joseph was repressed because of the presidential rule in Uttarakhand, okay, for elevating and was retreated again. Union government has made unusual delay in the first responding to collegium's recommendations, and later it took more time for reconsideration of the proposal. This had created a standoff between judiciary and executive, and because of this, there was a standoff between judiciary and executive and within the judiciary. What were the concerns with government moves? The Union government explained that the delay was due to invocation of the seniority or diversity norms in appointment to the higher judiciary. It made an issue of K.M. Joseph's relative lack of seniority among the CGI that the various high courts. It also said that his elevation would give excessive representation to Kerala as he belongs to the state. Union government has been splitting recommendation list and selectively approving proposals for collegium while holding back or returning some names. Even in its adherence to the norm that reiteration of a recommendation is binding, the government has not been consistent. What is the way forward the centre is looking is the centre has no option but to elevate the Uttarakhand High Court CGI once the collegium reiterated its original recommendation after the law ministry returned his name. But it will require more outreach by the government to assuage the anxieties expressed by senior judges in letter written to CGI. Given this past turbulence, the government will be watched carefully for the role it plays or doesn't play in the future in the next big transition in the Supreme Court. Okay, so that was all about the new appointment of K.M. Joseph in the CGI, Chief Justice of India. The next is Sathi initiative. Sathi stands for Sustainable and Accelerated Adoption of efficient textile technologies to help small industries. Sathi as a joint initiative by Ministries of Power and Textiles. It basically aims to accelerate the adoption of energy-efficient textile technologies in the powerloom sector and promote cost savings. EESL, that is Energy Efficiency Service Limited, a public sector unit under Ministry of Power, will help in implementing the initiative, and EESL will replace all old inefficient electric motors with energy efficient motors. It would procure energy efficient power looms and other kits in bulk and provide them to take to the small and medium power loom units at no upfront cost. Right? So this was all about that. Now coming to the next topic, Atal Bhujal Yojana. Basically, it is a central sector scheme of the Ministry of Water Resources. Okay, of the Ministry of Water Resources, River Development, and Ganga Rejuvenation. It basically aims to improve groundwater management in priority areas, okay, in the country through community participation. The emphasis will be on recharge of groundwater sources and efficient use of water by involving people at the local level. The priorities area identified under the scheme represents 25% of the total number of overexploited critical groundwater blocks. Okay, so those states are like Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. In those areas, the groundwater have been overly exploited. It is to be implemented, and this particular Atal Bhujal Yojana is planned to be implemented over a period of 5 years from 2018-19 to 2022 and 23. Okay, with obviously World Bank assistance. Moreover, like the funding pattern should be 50-50, that is between the government of India and the World Bank. So the funding 50-50 will be one side, one part will be paid by the government, whereas the other part is expected to be procured, to be bought from World Bank. Okay. Apart from this, like few things which we must be knowing is that the government, when proposed this Atal Bhujal Yojana, this basically aimed at, as I have discussed, sustainable groundwater management, right? So, as per the assessment of dynamic groundwater resources, you must be knowing that jointly by CGWB and state groundwater departments, out of total 6584 number of assessment, out of this uh, 6584 assessment, out of 6584 number of assessment unit, that includes blocks, taluks, mandals, watershed and firka, 1034. How many? 1034 units have been categorized as overexploited. They have used more than expected, and state-wise number of overexploited units are given in no can be given in another table. If I make an FI form, like this may be this basically this exploitation, if the reason is asked, it may be n number of reasons. Maybe one, maybe by because of population, maybe our rapid urbanization and rapid industrialization, and even other related facts, right? So like Andhra Pradesh, total assessments were done nearly 670, out of which 61 are exploited. Out of 670 exploitations in Andhra Pradesh, okay, so if I start here, Andhra Pradesh, 670 assessments were done, out of which 61 are exploited. Similarly, Arunachal Pradesh, 11 were done, no exploitation. So Arunachal Pradesh is safe. Similarly, Assam, assessment was done on 27 groundwater, still no exploitation. Bihar too, it is a surprise. Bihar being assessed 534 have got only 0. Right? Similarly, Chhattisgarh, I'm telling you the overexploited. So 61 areas have been overexploited. Similarly, in Chhattisgarh, the survey was done for 146 areas, 1 was found. Similarly, in Delhi, 27 out of 27, 15 are found, 15 areas are found. Similarly, Goa, 12 were done, 0. Gujarat, when it comes to Gujarat, 223 areas have been assessed, out of which 23 are overexploited. If you see, 15 in Delhi out of 27, 61 in Andhra Pradesh, right? Haryana, no good work. Out of 119, 64 are overexploited. Himachal Pradesh, 8 were assessed, out of which 1 is overexploited. Jammu and Kashmir, 22, 0. Jharkhand, 260 areas were explored, out of which 4 are overexploited. Okay, so when it comes to percentage, Delhi is highest actually with 56% and Haryana with 54. Delhi with 54, over 50% in fact, right? So Jharkhand, similarly Karnataka, After Jharkhand, IJ, Karnataka. How many? 174 were assessed, but not 174, 176, out of which 43 places have been found with over exploitation. Kerala similarly, it is strange, Kerala also came into picture. 152, among 152, 1. MP, then it is Maharashtra, 353, out of which 9. Manipur is 0, Meghalaya is 0, Mizoram 0, Nagaland 0, Odisha 0, Punjab 76%. Punjab is also a very highly affected. Punjab 138 areas were explored, out of which 105 are found to be overexploited, nearly 76%. It's a big alarm to Punjab, right? Similarly, Rajasthan as well. Rajasthan also explored was 248. Out of 248, 164 are found to be overexplored, nearly 66%, right? Then Tamil Nadu around 31%, Telangana 10%, Tripura 0, West Bengal 0. So similarly, when it comes out of this 6,533 areas explored, 1,033 are found to be overexploited. Out of which Andaman Nicobar, when it comes to union territories, all union territories have been found that nowhere it was explored to go with over exploitation, so it was 0%. So finally, this CGWA has prepared draft guidelines which stipulates existing and new industries, infrastructure and mining projects, etc., to obtain no objection certificates, so that no when the licenses are given, and if they are supposed to use the water, then they should get the no observation certificate in the draft guidelines framed by CGWA. Okay, it is proposed to levy a water conservation fee for issuance of no objection certificates for groundwater abstractions. Any company who is looking for a groundwater abstraction has to get a no objection certificate. Okay, for groundwater abstraction. The rates of water conservation fee have been proposed based on the quantum of groundwater abstracted, category of groundwater assessment unit, and use of groundwater. So the details can be taken out, like if you go to the category of areas groundwater use, the safe side less than 500 meter cube per day, it is 0.9, whereas semi-critical is 1, critical is 1.10, overexploited is 1.20. So water being a state subject, steps for augmentation, conservation and efficient management of water resources to ensure sustainability and availability are primarily undertaken by the respective state governments, right? So the MOS, Ministry of Science for Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, and Parliament Affairs, Sri Arjun Ram Meghwal gave this information in a written reply. Actually, the assessment what I was talking about, that out of this many number, this many are overexploited. So these are basically were taken from Arjun Ram Meghwal, who have given to the Parliament itself. So this basically Atal Bhujan Yojana to tackle ever deepening crisis of depleting groundwater level. The project was set up at 6,000 crores, which will be a pilot project under the Ministry of Water Resource, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. Okay, and moreover it is awaited with the cabinet's clearance. The scheme basically will help those who are in need for constant groundwater supply, especially farmers who have been hard impacted by the acute shortage of groundwater for several years, right? And it focuses primarily its focus is primarily on involvement of communities and convergence with different water schemes. Its major component is making society responsible and bringing about behavior change that manage groundwater resources, right? Because in recent people forget for the purpose of the use, and they really forget the purpose, and the overdose of use and waste of use create depletion in the groundwater, right? So those are a few things one need to understand when it comes to this particular subject. So in the same time, we need to understand that this Atal Bhujal Yojana was actually accepted by the World Bank. The World Bank has approved rupees 6,000 crores, as already told. With this assistance, the scheme is expected to help a lot to the society and the citizens, especially the farmers who depend on groundwater, where water availability is almost nil, like the areas of Punjab, right? Maximum of the people over there are dependent on the borewell. And so this was fine. What happened is, long back, if you go to the background, this Atal Bhujal Yojana has been formulated by the ministry basically to address the criticality of groundwater, as we have already known, right? As we already know. So this states basically, the states like Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh, who have been very critical and whose groundwater is very critical, right? So they represent around 25% of India. Okay, so basically one fourth of India, we can say, are in acute shortage of groundwater because of over exploitations, right? So they also cover two major types of groundwater system found in India: alluvial and hard rock aquifers, and have varying degrees of institutional readiness. So fund under this scheme will be provided to the states for strengthening the institutions responsible for groundwater governance, as well as for encouraging community involvement, for improving groundwater management to foster behavioral changes that promote conservation and efficient use of water. The scheme will also facilitate convergence of ongoing government schemes in the state by incentivizing their focused implementation in identified private priority areas. Implementation of the scheme is expected to benefit nearly 8,350 gram panchayats in 78 districts. Okay, how many? I should write rather. 8,350, right? So 8,350 gram panchayats in 78 districts. Ensuring active community participation in groundwater management, which is among the major objective of the scheme. So this scheme emphasizes active participation, right? So this active participation and active participation in from the society for this particular need, right? So since we know the water level is going down, so it is very vital. It is very vital for the country and the society to keep things in line, right? The best thing is like one can ask that why we need to go with this all sources, because earlier time as well there were traditional water conservation methods, right? Like either with the process of, you can say, the ponds, the lakes, or the well. So those were the bit of areas where many of things were stored. Like in India, around 83% of available fresh water is used for agriculture. Rainfall being the primary source of fresh water, the concept behind conserving water is to harvest it when it falls and wherever it falls. The importance of storing rainwater through different techniques can be understood by an example of the desert city of Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, which is water self-sufficient despite experiencing meager rainfall, right? So water conservation practices from the past and present have been very vital, right? Like the Katta system. Since ages, people across different regions in India have experienced either excess or scarce water due to varied rainfall and land topography. Yet they have managed to irrigate their agricultural fields by using localized water harvesting methods. Their traditional ways, through less popular, are still in use and efficient, right? So they are enriched with knowledge to manage water in communal ways. Like katta. Katta is one of a temporary structure made by binding mud and loose stones. Katta is also a temporary structure by the method where mud and loose stones available locally, built across small streams and rivers. This stone bund slows the flow of river and stores a large amount during the dry months. So the collected water gradually seeps into ground and increase the water level of nearby wells. In coastal areas, they also minimize the flow of fresh water into the sea. It is cost-effective and simple method used widely in rural areas. Series of stone bunds built on local structures can be easily repaired by farmers themselves. Although they require many skilled laborers during construction, the cost is mostly shared by all the villagers as it is a common structure, right? However, with more people opting for personal borewell and hand pumps, the water level in open wells has gone down severely, right? So one of the system, one of our traditional ways which can be used is katta, right? So this is what is formed by using stones together or rocks together. Then sandboards. This sandboard can also be used, right? Sandboards. Sandboards provide a safe alternative for farm irrigation without affecting groundwater. And this technique uses the concept of extracting water retained by sand particles. So sand particles act as a great water filters by retaining the salt contained at bottom and gushing pure water out. White sand is believed to yield water, right? Is believed to yield water clean enough for drinking too as well. Similarly, johats. Johats are like, I should write it. Johats. So like this water sock pits called as Modakas in Karnataka, also Pemghara in Odisha, Johats in Rajasthan are one of the oldest system used to conserve and recharge groundwater. Constructed on an area with a naturally high elevation on three sides, soil is excavated to create a storage area and used to create a wall on fourth side to hold water basically. Okay, so Johat collects monsoon water which slowly sips into recharge groundwater and maintain soil moisture. Similarly, Baudi, Jhalara. So this steep wells are grand structures of high archaeological significance, basically constructed since ancient times. Jalhara. Okay, Jalhara. So you can Google out these few things. The next is Jalhara. Then bamboo drip irrigation, bamboo drip irrigation innovated by tribes of northeastern states. This technique basically economically uses water during dry seasons. It is practiced in hilly areas where construction of ground channels is not possible due to slopy and stony terrain, right? So those are the few ways by which we can actually conserve water. We can actually conserve water in different manner, right? So this is how we can go for it. When it comes to this water conservation in India, uh, which ministry is basically taking is obviously it is the Ministry of Water, right? So when it comes to Ministry of Water, who is basically taking care of this? So the ministry which is taking care of this is now Nitin Gadkari, who have been Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. Okay, so this is taken by this particular. Similarly, when we come across this particular topic, so few similar topics can involve, like the related links can be on hydrological, meteorological data discrimination policy, then Bansagar Control Board, Ministry of Water Resources, National Water Mission, Central Water Commission, detailed demands of grants for Ministry of Water Resources, right? So other things also comes in picture. So the Home Ministry, which takes at this, have come across this particular topic. What are the new among this is the fourth edition of India Industry Water Conclave and sixth edition of FICCI Water Awards were held, where Jal Bachao Video Banao Puraskar POW contest was conducted. The purpose was to bring more transparency in this particular organization, right? Now, apart from this, we need to know that what are the schemes under this water resource and rejuvenation. Are there, like we have Ganga rejuvenation, interlinking of rivers. When you go to interlinking of rivers, further it have many other programs, food management wing programs, R&D program in water sector. Now, since we are discussing on the water sector, we need to equally understand what are the other factors. Here, interlinking of rivers have also played a very important role, like interlinking achievements of, if we go to the achievements of interlinking of rivers program is of a national importance as of now and has been taken up on high priority, like Honorable Ministry of Water Resources, this renewable development and Ganga regeneration, river development and Ganga rejuvenation is monitored. The progress of ILR, this interlinking of rivers, right? So the special committees, when you go to the special committees, and so it can be many more. Like the projects which are undergoing, one is Ken Betwa link project, right? And then we have Daman Ganga Pinjal link. Then we have Tapi Narmada link, Mahanadi Godavari link. We have Manas Santosh Tista Ganga link, India Water Week, Manas Sankosh Tista Ganga link. So those are many other stuff. So when we go for this interlinking of rivers in the next class, I'll elaborate more on this. Okay. So when we go to the R&D program, like the research and development program that is happening in water sector, one is Central Water Commission. Okay. In Central Water Commission, they are conducting few projects. When it comes to the Central Soil and Material Research Center, they have their own project. Central Water and Power Research Station, they have their own research. National Institute of Hydrology, they have their own research, and Indian National Committees as well in the part who are conducting in independent, right? So these are the few things one need to understand. Apart from this, there are miscellaneous activities which are running in parallel, uh, for this programs. Okay, so if you are very clear, so as of now we are very clear, this Atal Bhujal Yojana is a part of this water mission, and when they go to the water mission, these all informations are required as well, right? So these are the quite important things which one need to understand while going through this topic, right? So with this I'll conclude today's class, and we'll meet again in the next class. In the next class we'll be doing banking awareness, and till then, have a good time, have a good day.